Alright, so to answer your question about, the first question was about the New Testament, right?
Oh, it was about like, I thought Jesus broke the Old Testament to cover the New Testament.
What do you mean he broke it?
Or like, it never was broken, but it was just looked over for...
You know what the covenant is? You know what it is?
Yeah, that having covenant with, having, making a bond with God.
Right. Okay, give me Jeremiah. No. The other one? Hebrews 8. No, you get Jeremiah 31. Yes, sir. Jeremiah 31. So this is in the Old Testament. I'm just talking to him, bro.
Yeah.
This is in the Old Testament. Read.
Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 31. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel. That I will make a new covenant.
God said he's going to make a new covenant with who?
With the house of Israel.
With the house of Israel. What's that? Oh, turn this around. Just turn it around. With the house of Israel, read.
And with the house of Judah.
And with the house of Judah. The house of Israel is Ephraim on down on this side. The house of Judah is these three tribes right here. Alright, which will be the American blacks, the West Indian blacks, and the Haitians, right? You know?
Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt.
So that's the old covenant you're referencing to, right? Under the old covenant, what must you do to like to repent or to gain remission of sin? There we go. What would we have to do under the old covenant? You read history in the Bible, right? What was they doing? Sacrificing blood, right? That was the covenant. That was the first covenant with blood, right?
Yeah.
So if you committed a sin, right? For example, if you committed adultery, No. If you committed adultery, you were put to death. There was no sacrifice for adultery. Sacrifice for adultery was your own blood. God would have to kill you. Read that again.
Jeremiah chapter 31, verse 32.
So that was the old covenant. Now if you commit adultery, what can you do? Under Christ, under the new covenant. You can repent. That's the difference between the old covenant and the new covenant. But who's the new covenant for? Read it again.
Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will make a new covenant.
Save who?
A new covenant.
Save the Lord that he will make a new covenant. Read.
With the house of Israel.
With who?
With the house of Israel.
The house of Israel. Read.
And with the house of Judah.
And with the house of Judah, the 12 tribes of Israel. That's the new. That's who the new covenant is with and who it's for. Right? Read up.
Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers.
So not the same covenant as was given to Moses to give to the children of Israel. Read.
In the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was an husband unto them, saith the Lord.
So even though he had the first covenant with us, we still was breaking it. Now we're under the new covenant, and now we think Jesus Christ looks like this guy right here. Now we think that we can do whatever we want, and God is still gonna forgive us and give us salvation. So there's something that we must do to get salvation. Give me, matter of fact, let's get Romans 9. Read that.
Romans chapter 9. Romans chapter 9, verse 4. Verse 3. For I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ.
So who is this speaking in Romans?
Say that again?
Who was speaking to the Romans?
Who was speaking to the Romans? Israel?
To the Romans. Okay. The Israelites in Rome. I'll say that. The book of Romans.
Yeah.
When you're reading the book of Romans, who's speaking? Who is it about?
The Romans.
No.
God.
This is Paul speaking.
Paul.
All right, this is Paul. Read it again.
Romans chapter 9, verse 4.
Paul was an Israelite. Paul was from the tribe of Benjamin. So if Paul was here today on the earth, he would be of the West Indian blacks. Yes, Moses was the tribe of Levi. So Moses would have been brought on a slave ship, or his foreparents would have been brought on a slave ship to Haiti, right? Read.
Verse 3. For I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen.
My what?
My kinsmen.
These are Paul's kinsmen. Read.
According to the flesh.
According to the flesh, meaning our nationality, our blood. Read.
Who are Israelites,
Uh-huh.
to whom pertaineth the adoption.
Pertain means what? Belongs to, right? Read it again.
To whom pertaineth the adoption.
The Israelites pertain, meaning pertain what?
Pertaineth the
The
adoption.
adoption as sons and daughters of God. Read.
And the glory.
And the glory of God. Read.
And the covenants.
And what?
And the covenants.
And the covenants, the old and new. Read.
And the giving of the law.
And the giving of the law. Because God only gave his laws to the Israelites. So one thing we've been misconceptualized in America is that, or in the churches I'm saying, is that God loves all people. But God has only dealt with the Israelites from the beginning. He's always had one bloodline that he dealt with. And guess what? You fit that bloodline. Read.
And the servants of God.
And what? The servants of God. Who are supposed to be the servants of God? The Israelites. Not everybody. Read on.
And the promises.
And what?
And the promises.
What's the promises that God promised us? Remember we read one earlier, right? What's the promises? Which is what? What's heaven? You want me to read you what heaven is?
Yeah.
All right, get Isaiah 14. We are too, bro. But guess what? That's the love we have for you. We call you over here just so we can give you the information that you need.
Isaiah chapter 14, verse 1. Oh, the Lord.
You gotta uncover your head, though.
Yeah, my bad.
Hey, remember, are you willing to freeze your ass off for Christ? For salvation? Because what we're teaching here is to get you salvation. For you to have understanding. Read.
Isaiah 14, verse 1. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob.
So Jacob, okay, go ahead.
For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob.
Will is past tense or future tense? Will? Or if I say I will do this, is that past tense?
Oh, no, that's still future.
Right, future. Read.
And will yet choose Israel.
And God will yet choose Israel. All right, where's all the other nations coming in at? Read.
And set them in their own land.
Have we been set in our own land yet? No, but God said he will do it. That's a promise. Read.
And the strangers shall be joined with them.
So if God's dealing with one nation of people, the other nations will be considered what? Okay, if we're friends of God, if we're children of God, the other nations are what? Read it again.
And the strangers shall be joined with them. And they shall...
Strangers. So if you had children, right? Let's say you have 4 children. Everybody outside of your house or out of their nation, you're teaching them, they're strangers, right?
Yeah.
Read.
And they shall cleave to the house of Jacob.
How?
And the people shall take them and bring them to their place.
They're going to cleave to us to be brought to their place, which is what? When we were brought here on slave ships, what were we brought to? What was the condition we were brought to?
It was
Slavery, right?
What is your name? How is your name? Now I'll ask you again. Tell me your name. Say it! Say it! Say it! Toby!
Conta 15.
Toby! It's Toby! Now say it! Toby! Damn you! You black nigger bastard. You will not move from here till you say your name. Not if night falls or a new day comes. Now you will say Toby. Say it. Say it! Say it! Say it!
Read.
And the house of Israel shall possess them.
And the house of Israel will possess. Don't forget who we're talking about. The strangers, the other nations. Read.
Shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids.
So the children of Israel, the kingdom of heaven is the children of Israel ruling over the other nations, possessing them as the scripture said. Read.
And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were.
Who took us captive? Whites, right? Whites, right? That's the history we know of, right? But when you start reading the Bible, every nation had a hand in our captivities. We served every nation. We served Egyptians, which were what? Africans. We served the Moabites, which are what? Chinese. Ammonites, which are what? Japanese. Hey, bro, come on over here. We served the Ammonites, which is the so-called Japanese.
And they shall rule over their oppressors.
And what?
And they shall rule over their oppressors.
This is God's promise to the Israelites, that we will rule over our oppressors.
We used to scream black power while Heron was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission, minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold, from Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are how men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.